Welcome, welcome. This is Spiritual Insights, and this is where we talk about all things spirituality, universal principles, and basically a practical guide to spirituality. I do hope you find something of value here. Shadow work, as I found it, is essentially emotional wounds. Our shadow selves are the parts of ourselves which typically we're encouraged to keep under wraps. We only expose these parts of ourselves behind closed doors, sometimes not even at all. The thing about it is that usually they will stem from an emotional wounding. This can be perhaps from the environment that we grew up in. This can be maybe based on, friend groups, social situations, and social interactions. And you find that you have a very negative experience with somebody or a group of people. And what usually then happens is we then establish a belief system, firstly around ourselves with regards to that topic, but then secondly with regards to that topic. Because this becomes belief that is built in usually at an early age, we then tend to grow up with that. For example, in my case, so my parents were married for a good 20 years, okay? But they actually got a divorce when I was young, around 7. And so my dad and I then were estranged for a bit of time. What then happened as a result? The belief system that I formulated as a child, obviously unknowingly, was, well, am I not good enough? That is the belief that stemmed from that situation. And so initially, of course, you don't realize it, but then you start to see patterns in your life, in certain areas and aspects of your life. And then when you actually trace it back, you're like, oh, that's why I think this way, or that's why I feel this way about myself. And so that was something that I had to work on and I had to heal from. But it stemmed from a place of wounding. Oftentimes, these wounds happen because of the people around us. And it might not even be the intention to hurt us, but they often stem from those around us and from the people we love the most. But it then later becomes our responsibility to heal those parts of ourselves. So in most cases, your shadow was not actually caused by you. It was caused by somebody else and what they did to you, but it does become your responsibility to fix it eventually. Shadows can be in many, many ways, right? Jealousy can be a shadow self, envy can be a shadow, a spirit of competition, that can be a form of a shadow, insecurity can be a form of a shadow. And so shadow work does become necessary as you go along in life. But what will usually alert you to the necessity of having to actually start with it is recurring negative patterns throughout your life, usually in relationships of some kind, not just romantic. And so the thing about it is you actually want to look at it and go, okay, I keep experiencing this. What is my feeling about this situation? What is my feeling about myself with regards to the situation? And what are my thoughts about myself with regards to the situation? That will usually start you on your way. Once you find that, usually the mind will then go back to something that actually happened, to whatever it is that caused that situation. And from there is when you now need to take accountability to go, okay, this happened. These are concurrent events that happened thereafter or as a result of that. I need to now allow this to kind of leave my thought space and my feeling space. I'm going to forgive the situation that happened. I'm going to forgive whomever was involved. And I'm going to choose a different thought and belief about, firstly, myself with regards to this topic. And secondly, with regards to this topic in general. So in my case, for example, what I then had to do was then to choose an alternate belief, which was actually, I am good enough. I am worthy of love. Okay. And then my alternate belief with regards to relationship or marriage was that actually marriage can work out long term, marriages can be sustained, marriages can be healthy. And so that is the choice I had to then make. And so naturally, as with all things, if that is what you believe, that is what you will see in your external world. Now, the problem with refusing to face our shadows, we've already established it's about the beliefs that you form. If I now, again, for example, chose to leave that negative situation and leave the negative thoughts and feelings about myself and about the situation, and I chose to leave it at that, instead of taking accountability for it, what then happens is naturally my relationships will probably not work out because I expect them not to work out. My sense of self-love and my self-esteem will naturally suffer holistically, but more specifically in relationships. I will then naturally think lower of myself when in a relationship if I don't address those wounds. And so say I have chosen not to address those wounds, I have chosen not to go there, I will keep getting negative results in this specific area. There is no way around it. Okay, and that is why I would venture to say that shadow work is pivotal. Shadow work is a necessary part of life. Those wounds need healing. They need to be addressed. They need to be it out. Because in healing it, in repairing it, you are now allowing for a new formation of yourself to come forth. You are allowing for new belief systems to come forth. And so you are allowing for a new way of being to come forth. Okay? And so I would encourage you to look at this and think about it. Which areas in my life do I have recurring negative patterns? Is it in my money? Is it in my career? Is it in relationships? Which areas? Rather, do I feel the strongest and most negative? Do I have something about me where I get jealous of people sometimes? Do I have a thing about me where I get insecure sometimes? And if you do, look into that. Look into that. Actually, take some time to sit with yourself. Look into that and into the why and into the where it comes from. Because otherwise, you will just keep creating the same result. If, for example, you know you have a jealousy wound, jealousy and envy and competitiveness go along hand in hand. If I naturally have an unhealed wound of jealousy, it means I don't feel good enough inherently. And so because I don't feel good enough, I will either feel the need to compensate in situations, or I might just be overly competitive. And the thing about it is I'm going to do it in my career, I'm going to do it with my family members, I'm going to even do it in my marriage or my relationship. And so unless I heal this wound and I let it go and I establish a new sense of self that actually I am enough, I am good enough, I don't need to compete with others, I can show up as myself and do amazing things. Will you not naturally show up differently? You will. You are going to show up differently at work, in your marriage, in your relationship, because you are moving in a different energy, because your sense of self, your self-esteem is elevated and it's in a more positive place. I hope this is of value to somebody, and love and light.